No, no. I think it's a forced entry list, so he can join once he's in there. He's in. He's all good. And I know he did. He messaged our YouTube channel to say he was just leaving work with. I think it was 20 minutes left to go before we started streaming. So if he can get on the track and do some
Mhm.
laps, like you say, it's good practice. We're a friendly community.
Yeah.
The only provision will be that obviously when he gets the blue flags, he gets out the way. That's same for everybody. So yeah, but some good racing going on tonight.
Indeed, there is. As this battle for third place between James Hartnell in the 168 Ferrari, just behind Dave Hedges. The gap between them last time around was 0.527 seconds between the 88 Audi and the 168 Ferrari. Well, it hasn't really changed on that particular occasion, as darkness starting to fall here at Spa-Francorchamps. Fast approaching the completion as Regan Mitchell looks to have made his first pit stop. I think he might have decided to go in early and look to play the long game here, which might be the case.
That's an interesting tactic if he has, if he's not been forced into the pits to do that. He must have the confidence that he's a lot faster than Chris. And Chris,
Hartnell going side by side with Hedges heading into Les Combes. Will the Ferrari get around the outside? That is going to be nip and tuck, but Hartnell, I think, might have just made it stick. But Hedges comes back at him through the next corner through Malmedy. Hartnell runs wide, but still manages to keep it round the outside of Hedges.
that was good. That was some great racing there. I thought David got that back then, but it looked like he just took too much curb and lost a bit of traction, which gave James the upper hand there to get on the power. But yeah, fantastic respect for both drivers there, and Dave's not giving up. I'm sure he's going to come straight back at James given the opportunity.
Yeah, that Audi R8, it might be a little bit more angular than the curvaceous Ferrari, but it can go very, very quickly when pushed to the limits of adhesion. We're fast approaching the conclusion of the first quarter of this 2-hour enduro here at Spa-Francorchamps for the 7th round of the Simsport Racing Assetto Corsa Competizione. So just a quick update. Unfortunately, there's been a bit of a lag with regards to the stream. We can only apologise about that. Our broadcast team at Simply Race, our broadcast director, Mike Yao, has had an issue with one of his PCs, but rest assured there will be a full HD version of this uploaded when he gets the opportunity to do so. So please bear with us. Reese Wiggin now in the pits on lap number 11. As James Hartnell keeping, and look at the gap he's already pulled off of Dave Hedges. It's half a second between Hedges and Hartnell, with Hedges ahead, and now that is nearly a 1.5 second swing in the favour of the 168 Ferrari.
Yeah, I mean, I'm guessing Dave's maybe been trying to hang on to the back of James a little bit too hard and made a little bit of a mistake somewhere. But certainly, James has certainly found his pace now, and maybe his tyres are coming into the sweet spot. He's maybe set the pressures up for the optimum of somewhere in the middle of the range, as it were. Like I said, temperature is now down to around about 12 degrees on the track, so it's still cooling down. James is still pulling away from Dave, as you said, 1.5, nearly 1.6 seconds, I believe now, roughly.
That's a lot when you think about it. As there is Adam Isailovic trying to keep pace with Mark Neutelings. Regan Mitchell has rejoined in around 17th place in the number 69 Mercedes. But yeah, Archie Clifford Roberts now has a 6.246 second lead ahead of Lukas Kakos. James Hartnell rounds out the top three in the 168 Ferrari. Dave Hedges in the 88 Audi, and Chris Pinchbeck doing rather well in the 43 Audi, rounding out the top five. Chris Crossman, Dean Riley, Rich Smith, Peter Hrobar and Mark Neuselings round out the top 10 with Isailovic, Wolf, DeLuca, Kelsey, Pixley, Santoro, Mitchell, Bowman, Diaz, Lindsay and Reese Wiggin. I'm wondering if that McLaren had a substantial amount of damage earlier on, or whether he's had a secondary incident post that off-track excursion.
Yeah, it's looking like it. It's obviously he's a few laps down now. It's a shame when drivers have to pull out this early on into a race that's this long, because who knows what's going to happen? You know, with 90 minutes still or just under of racing to go, that's a long way, and anything can happen. So it's always good to keep going if you can. But yeah, maybe Reese has just had such damage that it's almost beyond repair, or viable repair, shall we say. It was going to take too much time. Rich Smith is was coming under close attention from Peter Hobart, but he seems to have made a bit of a gap. As you were talking there, I saw the gap was down to less than a tenth at one point, but it's just stretched out now to 8/10. So maybe Rich has just had made a mistake, which had allowed Peter to close up on him.
Yeah, well, it looks like as now the sunset definitely well and truly in full effect. Richard Pixley in the number 7 Emilfi Jaguar Racing XKR GT3 rounds out the top 16 positions as we go on board. And this is what I like, proper old school Jaguar beefiness. But obviously, it's a car that doesn't, that stayed in GT3 for a number of years before Emilfi jumped to the Lexus in GT3 competition. But just to see a bit of British pomp and circumstance in GT3 here in Assetto Corsa Competizione is quite refreshing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's good to see someone running the Jaguar. It's great. Like you say, not many people run the Jaguars, and I think we give them a mention every round because it is good to see them, bringing it to the track and doing battle with it, and finishing somewhere in the mid-table. It has to be said normally. Just worth mentioning, James Hartnell, he's still a man on the move. He's chasing Lucas Kakos for second, and his last lap was 1 second faster than Lucas's, so he certainly is closing the gap down. He's within 2 seconds of Lucas now. So yeah, if he keeps up that sort of pace, a couple of laps, and he's going to be there.
Yeah, well, he's 1.941 seconds behind Lucas at the moment as we fast approach the conclusion of the first quarter of the 2-hour enduro here at beautiful night-lit Spa-Francorchamps in the Stavreux region. A place I've actually visited. Interesting bit of tidbit information for you, Steve, and also for those watching the stream. Apologies again because of the fact it is laggy. We've had another comment about that. We can only apologise, as I explained earlier on, that I headed to Spa-Francorchamps. Well, I did a bit of a road trip in October 2016. Drove a total of around 2,200 kilometres from Manningtree in North Essex, where I live. The first day, I drove down to Dover, got on the ferry to Dunkirk, drove to Evere in southern Brussels. Then, in one day, drove to Zolder, Spa-Francorchamps, the Nürburgring, and then to Meckesheim, where I was going to be holed up for about three or four nights. But at Spa, couldn't get access to the track, obviously. But I ended up at an access road that was just off the bottom of so effectively where you see these buildings here on your right hand side, the access road was to the right, and so I could see the main building through the sort of like the clearing, and I thought, hang on a minute, I'm that close to Orange and Radion. If I drove another like 200, like quarter of a mile to my left, I might be able to get to it, but of course there were no roads there.
But just might be a little bit of a cheeky question, Alex. But are you not old enough to remember when Spa was public roads?
No, I was not around when Spa was public roads, my friend. No, even though I did turn 43 last Saturday. No, when Spa was public roads, I was probably a twinkle in my mother's eye.
Sorry, mate, I couldn't resist.
Oh no, it's no problem at all, buddy. No problem at all.
Just James Hartnell and Lucas. Lucas has responded, so I'm wondering if he had an issue on that lap. James's last lap was a 2:18.1 and Lucas's was a 2:18.2, so the gap is very much stable at the moment.
Yeah, so darkness well and truly falling here at Spa-Francorchamps. The headlights and spotlights on the front of the cars ablaze, the brake lights glowing red amidst the darkness that is fast approaching in. And I have to say, Jeffrey Wolf, I mean, he's got one of the brightest liveries out of everybody out on the circuit at the moment. And if you if Google Maps was able to find its way onto Assetto Corsa Competizione, if you had Google Maps, you could actually see Jeffrey's car from a satellite picture up like goodness knows how many feet in the air.
It almost rivals some of the custom liveries we've got for the GT4 League. It has to be said.
Yes. Adam Isalovic, Regan Mitchell with two of the brightest. But I mean, there was one. What was it? I was just trying to remember. But the funny thing was going back to GT4. Michael Hafferden and Tim Fulbrook both contacted me and they said, "Well spotted on the Paddock Hill reference," because it was to do with Paddock Hill Bend at Brands Hatch on the front and the rear of their GT4 BMWs, which you'll see again this coming Wednesday. But this is a glorious sight, isn't it? An hour and 27 to go. They're all flying through Eau Rouge, headlights ablaze. Not well, and probably sweating buckets as well, like going, cool, that was a bit of a moment there through Eau Rouge. You know, they'll feel the back end step out because, you know, we're now into the first 35 minutes of racing here at Spa, Steve, and the mental and physical exertion, the taxation on the body will now start filtering into the thoughts of the drivers, because they'll go, well, I need to hit every apex. I need to hit every braking zone. I need to power out of the corners correctly. I need to rotate the car. There's so much going on in the drivers' minds whilst they're racing at this particular moment.
Yeah, and you've got to remember, obviously, as well, they're driving in the dark now, so a lot of the reference points have changed. They've disappeared, you know, or they can't see them until they're almost on them, especially when they're following a car closely in front, you know. So, yeah, they're driving from memory at some points, but, yeah, they're really having to be keen. And another thing is it's very easy to get distracted when it gets to darkness like this. You know, the glint of lights off things, the reflections, catches your eyes. Your dashboard looks obviously a lot brighter, so you're focusing. Sometimes it's easy to focus on that rather than where you're going. Just another distraction. So yeah, it's very, very difficult. Can't stress that enough at how difficult it is to drive a race sort of this sort of length through the night. It's difficult.
Well, a perfect example was just being shown there by our broadcast director Mike Yao from Simply Race through Jeffrey Wolf. You could see that obviously you've got the rear view camera looking backwards at what's going on behind. You've then got all the toggle switches. You've got the LCD dash display just behind the steering wheel. And also, one of the biggest things, you were talking about glint off of certain items there, Steve. You know, you look at the livery on the back of Adam Isalovic's Ferrari, and there is a lot of glare coming up from, like, say, the white and the sort of like the chrome blue accents, because when light hits it, as Jeffrey Wolf gets ever so close to the 111 through the braking zone into La Source, nearly too late on the brakes there for the 86 Ferrari that could have ended up in the back bumper and spinning Adam Isalovic around there. But yeah, that's another thing. It's another thing that can get you distracted. The liveries that are on the cars, if the headlight hits it the wrong way and you're using a VR headset, that could really, really sort of blind your eyesight ever so slightly, probably in a little bit for like a moment, and then that's a distraction moment that you don't really need.
Yeah, that's the distraction moment that causes you to miss that braking marker and you know, run too deep into a corner and lose time. That's all those little things. They all add up to potentially causing you to make mistakes and lose time to your competitors. As we as we see in Adam running a little bit deep in that corner there. He's obviously, he's not got the reflection of his car. He's got the reflection of the headlights in the mirrors. Let's not forget that. Like you say, he's going to be looking forward, but he's going to be constantly getting the lights in the mirrors distracting him as well. But doing a great job so far, holding position, running a very creditable 11th place, and doing what he needs to do.
So at the moment, with 1 hour 23 minutes, bit of an overcorrection there from Adam Isalovic, and that allows Jeffrey Wolf to close up. Isalovic wide. I will go through some of the running order as long as Adam Isalovic doesn't give himself and me a heart attack at the same time. But, just a couple of moments there, you were talking about, you were spot on with your analysis there, Steve, that the minute that something wasn't going 100%, because now what Adam Isalovic has got to contend with as you said, the headlights from Jeffrey Wolf. Looks like they're heading down towards the bus stop chicane, down into first gear. And just up ahead is Mark Neutling. So you've got the glare coming off the tyre barriers on the right-hand side, the white walls on left and right-hand side of the Ferrari. You've got the headlights in the back. So it's all very, very much a case of just crossing the T's and dotting the I's. Right, Rich Smith has pitted on lap number 16 in the Lexus. So he has pitted. Also, Regan Mitchell still hasn't made any inroads from around 17th position when he came out from his first pit stop a bit earlier on.
Yeah, but just for all the guys at home watching the stream, and maybe you're not aware, but if you look at the display on the left-hand side with all the names and the car numbers, there's a little number next to the car number, and most of them say number 2. That is telling you how many pit stops those guys, mandatory pit stops, they have left to do. So you'll see if you go down to our Mitchell in 17th, he's got 1, C. Bowman 1. That means they've all completed 1 pit stop. So that's a good reference point for you when you're looking to see who's where and how they're doing. Obviously look at that, because that'll having a pit stop here. I can't remember how long it takes to go into the pits and out here. It's a very long pit lane, but you'd be looking at a good 30 seconds. I think off the top of my head at least.
Yeah. So Adam Isalovic now being hustled once again by Jeffrey Wolf in the Car Guy 86 Ferrari, and it's nice when you see drivers in the same brand competing against one another as rivals. I mean, it's great to see the Ferraris, but then also you got like say the Aston Martin Vantage V8 GT3 of Gianluca De Luca in the number 135. He's not too far behind Jeffrey Wolf. Well, he's actually closing on him on quite a big rate of knots, because I think Jeffrey Wolf has made a couple of mistakes.
He just got a little bit deep on the brakes and had to pull out of the braking zone, otherwise he would have rear-ended Adam. Great reactions from Jeffrey Wolf to do that, to avoid the collision, but yeah, it's cost him some time, and it's bringing Gianluca back into the battle, as it were.
Yeah, Ranjiv Kalsi, and we've got Santoro now in 14th. Rich Pixley running at the top 15. Regan Mitchell is now in 16th. So, as all, Gakosh and Hartnell now pit. So the first couple of the top 5 have now blinked after 40 minutes. So that now puts Archie Clifford Roberts now 11 seconds ahead of Dave Hedges, as Adam Istalovic flies his way through Eau Rouge and through to Radion, as does Jeffrey Wolf and Gianluca De Luca in the Aston Martin.
Yeah, that puts a different spin on the old tactics. As I was saying earlier, I think the quickest tactic is to pit at 60 minutes and then just go in for a splash and dash. But maybe these guys are thinking, as we were just talking there, the pit lane is so long, it's maybe worth just splitting it into 3 sections of the race and going for 2 sets of tyres as well. Let's see what happens. Obviously, I'm not aware of what the tactics of the lads are. They'll be they all set them up themselves.
Well, Santoro and Bixley have also pitted. So the dynamic of the race changes all the time, as we are just over 19 minutes away from hitting half-time here at Spa-Francorchamps for round 7 of Simsport Racing Assetto Corsa Competizione Season 3, Round 7 for GT3. And what a place to host it at here for the 7th of 10 rounds here at Spa-Francorchamps. Local time, according to the server, has just gone 11:08 p.m. And still, Jeffrey Wolf and Adam Isalovic battling away. This is bringing Gianluca De Luca and also Ranjiv Kalsi into this battle. So what could be a 2-car battle for 8th position could very quickly be a 4-way scrap over that place.
Yeah, it could be. I'm just looking elsewhere at the timings, and Hartnell is showing as 0.006 behind Lucas Kakos. So obviously that's them two coming out of the pits. They must have come out literally nose to tail, as it were. So it'd be interesting to see how that battle pans out, because those two obviously were effectively 2nd and 3rd.
Yeah, so very interesting to see how things will proceed as Ranjiv Kalsi now is closing on the back bumper of as Jeffrey Wolf has decided to pit with around about 1 hour and 18 minutes still to go. So this is the battle now as Archie Clifford Roberts pits from the lead. Leader now in the pits, the 96 Audi. Decides to drop down as Ranjiv Kalsi trying to thread the eye of the needle in the dark through Eau Rouge and Radiant. Oh, that was a brave attempt, Ranjiv. I doff my cap to him. Number 47.
Absolute respect. He lifted there just to fall back into line. He tried to get alongside far enough to gain the advantage, but when he realised it wasn't on, he absolute respect. He lifted.
Well, a very, very, very good call there. So, for those wondering about the length of the races for the last 3 rounds in 2 weeks' time at Laguna Seca, it is a 1-hour race. Then we have a 90-minute race at Circuit de Catalunya, Barcelona. And on the 25th of October, well, you know what they say, Steve, start as you mean to go on. A 2-hour race around Le Castellet at Paul Ricard. Craziness, I think, is the term I'm going to use there.
Yeah, absolutely. It'll be good fun, trust me. But yeah, the Laguna Seca race, that's another interesting one. It's only a 60-minute race, but it's flagged. It's lights to flag, should I say, and no pit stop. So that'll be 60 minutes with no mandatory pits. So that'll be a good one to watch.
Yep. So I mean, effectively, that the last 3 rounds will give us 4.5 hours worth of racing action. Obviously, I won't be around for the season finale. Again, it's commitments. I'm so gutted. I'm going to miss the season finale on the 25th of October because I will actually be overseas elsewhere, karting commentary once again. These things do happen. I have to try and mitigate. You know what? We're going to have to work on season 4 for GT3 and work around the calendar again, aren't we?
Well, we will be planning that very soon. So I'll send you the invite to the meeting when we're going to discuss that one. Not a problem at all, mate. Because it's always good to have the voice of Simsport with us.
Indeed, always a pleasure, never a chore, as they say. So we're coming into the next. We're about to hit 1 hour and 15 minutes to go. We're with Lukas Kakos.
I'd just like to bring something in here. Regan Mitchell, who pitted very early on, is in front of James and Lucas, which I'm ashamed to say I missed that earlier when I was talking about them coming out. But yeah, it seems to his undercut seems to have paid off. That he's now effectively in 3rd place behind Archie, 1.7 seconds behind Archie.
Oh, now it gets interesting. Now the plot thickens under the nighttime sky. As Peter Hrobar in the 32 Audi Sport Team Land Audi R8 has also pitted. So this is where it's really, you're right about Regan's undercut. I think if that gets him to within striking distance of Archie in the latter stages of the race, oh, that's it. That's an interesting prospect altogether there.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to talk to these guys at the end of the race just to see what their strategies have been. Because, I'm wondering, did Regan take tyres? Has he made all that time up because he didn't take tyres and actually has? But these are the questions we'll never know, or the answers we won't know until we ask the questions at the end.
Yeah, very, very true there. I'm just keeping an eye on the stream itself. Apologies for any further lags. We have had... Well, I'm not too sure what's happened there. I'm sure we did have... I think we're about 1 hour and 15 still to go here at Spa-Francorchamps.
No, mate, they're still racing.
So I think not too sure what just happened there. But according to Steve, you say that they're still racing, aren't they?
Yeah, I'm logged into the server as a spectator and they're still circulating as they were.
Okay. Well, apologies for that, ladies and gentlemen. We're trying to do our best to get back to the racing action as soon as possible. So please bear with us. As Cameron Fife says, evening, Steve.
Good evening, Cameron. Hope you're doing well, buddy. And when are you joining us on track, mate? You missed. We need you back on track.
Like they say, always get everyone coaxed in as quickly back as possible.
Yeah, just to keep everyone updated, as I say, I'm logged into the server as a spectator, so fortunately I can still see the action. Regan Mitchell is now 3.8 behind Archie, so Archie's obviously done his pit stop, come out fresh tyres, and if he has taken tyres, but he's certainly got the hammer down again and he's going. But obviously James Hartnell is 4.5 seconds behind Regan. He's closed up about half a second. So yeah, everything's as it was. We've not really missed anything as yet, but the guys are still circulating. Everybody will be pleased to know.
Right, so here is Chris Crossman, who at the moment is running, well, according to the timing screens, it shows P3, but on the road he's actually second at the moment, I think. Not too sure, but sometimes we see one thing, try and look at one thing on the timing, try and look at one thing on the screen. It never quite works out, but it is what it is. But Chris Crossman, I think, we haven't talked much about him in this race, have we? And he's kept it quite consistent.
Yeah, he's consistent, and as we said in the qualifying, the Porsche isn't the fastest car around Spa. It's certainly it lacks on top speed a little bit. But Chris is a very, very capable driver, so it's not over until it's over. I expect a top 6 maybe from Chris. If he can get in the top 6, it'll be an absolutely fantastic result for the Porsche here. Obviously, Dave Hedges is still out in the lead at the moment. He's Archie's teammate, so we wouldn't expect anything less. He's got a lot to live up to. With Chris Pinchbeck in second place, Crossman, as you say, in third, Dean Riley fourth, Adam Zelievich in fifth, and Matt Neutling's in sixth. He's going for his usual strategy of a late pit stop so he can gain that 5 minutes of fame, as he does every round.
Well, he got me good and proper for GT4 last time out, didn't he, the cheeky beggar? I'm not going to fall for that twice.
No, he's a great lad, he's Mark, and he deserves every second of camera time he gets because he's solid. He's a pillar of the community, shall we say. He turns up, he races, he practices, he joins in on Discord as most people do. He's ever active, ever friendly community at Simsport.
So, speaking of the devil, and he doth appear on our screens. Well, funny that, because his number also represents the devil, 666, not 999. As we go on board, now you can also see how interesting it is. Reference the Bentley, and I think Mark's got the most amount of bright buttons on the left-hand side of that center console, as he makes a quick adjustment on the steering wheel as they now head down the Kemmel Straight, heading towards Le Gomme.
That's a keyboard for big fingers, isn't it? It's definitely
for fat bums.
That's the one.
Nice. Yeah, I will say what Mike Yao, our broadcast director, says. Yeah, it's the push to pass button. 30 brake horsepower increase. No, sorry, that's DTM and IndyCar. Sorry, not GT3.
Mark will use every single one of those buttons for push to pass.
That sounds about right, really, to be honest with you.
He's obviously running in a very credible 6th place, and he's only second behind Adam at the moment, with Ranjiv Kelsey 1.5 seconds behind Mark. So all keeping close attention to each other. And Gianluca, obviously, Ranj, we missed it when we've gone off air, but it looks like Ranj has got that move done on Gianluca De Luca to get into 7th place at the moment. Archie Clifford Roberts has done one of his pit stops in 9th, and he's 23 seconds behind 8th place. So it's all to play for. The timings have all sort of got shaken up, and they're all taking different strategies, which is making it really interesting, but very hard to second guess what they're actually doing. But it's making it very interesting to watch.
That it is indeed, as we now go past midnight here at Spa-Francorchamps. By about 6 minutes, and now it is completely pitch black.
And Dave Hedges is in the pits. The leader is now pitting, so we'll see where he comes out. Chris Pinchbeck is going to take the lead, obviously, I would imagine.
Yeah, so going to be very, very interesting indeed on how things do change over the course of the next 68 minutes here at Spa-Francorchamps, as Mark Neusseling still think who is that behind him? That's Ranjith Kelsey. So he's effectively the Bentley Continental Meat and a Ferrari 488 sandwich here, going through into Eau Rouge. So, but it'll help him out a little bit, but also help Ranjith out, because Ranjith will get a double toe now. Look how quickly he's closed on Mark, heading down the Kemmel Straight.